Hello again. Time for more of the Losers Club by Andrew Clements. We are on chapter 23. It's called 1 Minute Later. And it means 1 minute later after Alec got off the phone with Nina, who had called to yell at him. Go ahead and read along with me. My book, the chapter 23, starts on page 182. I'm sorry, 132. Okay. 1 minute later. Luke, I'm serious. It's none of your business. Leave. Luke pushed past him. He went and sat on the end of Alex's bed and folded his arms. Very calm, very stubborn. I heard how that girl yelled at you before I could hang up the phone, and I heard a little of what she said. And I'm your brother, and I want to help. Get out! No. Luke sat perfectly still, staring at Alec with large blue eyes. Alec groaned, then closed his bedroom door. Look, he said, it's complicated, okay? It's nice that you want to help, but you wouldn't understand any of this. Luke looked at him, and with his best Yoda voice, he said, worried you are. That's it. Out. Sorry, Luke said quickly. I won't do that again, I promise. He took a breath and said, that girl's mad at you. Why? Because I was mean to a kid who showed up at our reading table. Luke said, you mean the Losers Club? Right. Wait, how did you know that? Luke stared at him. Everyone in the school knows about the Losers Club. It's a very catchy name. Almost every day, 2 or 3 caveman types come up to me and say, hi, little loser, which means that you're big loser. Oh, wow, Alex said, sorry you're getting teased because of me. Luke shrugged. Neanderthals, you have to learn to ignore them. Shifting back, Luke said, okay, you were mean to this kid. Then what? Well, Alex said, this girl, she got all... Luke interrupted. Is this that girl you like, Nina? What? Alex stared at his little brother, who was looking more like Yoda every second. Alec was suddenly terrified, because if his geeky little 3rd grade brother knew he liked Nina, and Kent sort of knew, and Nina herself sort of knew, did this mean that everybody knew? Alec spoke slowly. So, do you think Mom knows about Nina? Luke nodded. We've talked about it. She's concerned, but she says it's a very normal thing. Alec stumbled over and sat on the bed next to Luke. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, covering his face with his both hands. This is awful. Luke tilted his head. Because of how you feel, or because everybody knows how you feel? Both, he moaned, his voice muffled by his hands. Well, Luke said, it could be worse. Alec turned his head sideways and sneered. Oh, great. So tell me, Yoda, how could that even be possible? Luke slid right into character. Simple it is, young master. Worse would it be if care for her she did not. Care for you she did not. Yet call she did, so care she does. Alec couldn't help grinning for at least 3 reasons. First, Luke's owly blue eyes looked so much like Yoda's that it was freaky. Second, his performance had been flawless, a perfect impersonation. But most of all, his strange little brother was right. Nina wouldn't have called and yelled at him unless she really did care. Luke stood up abruptly. You're better, and I've got stuff to do. Alec was still smiling. Thanks. Luke gave him a slow, blinking Yoda nod. Welcome, you all. End of chapter. Let's read the next one. Chapter 24, Spitz and Buck. As Alec walked into first period music class on Tuesday morning, Kent grabbed his arm and pulled him over next to the instruments cabinet. Kent said, how come you told Nina I got that warrior princess thing from you? Alec recalled how his little brother had mentioned Neanderthals. This seemed like a totally Stone Age question. So Alec said, because you did. And just in case you haven't heard yet, taking someone else's idea and pretending it's your own, here in the 21st century, we call that stealing. Luke had forgotten to remind Alec that Neanderthals are not famous for having a sense of humor. Plus, their descendants are sometimes taller, with bigger muscles. Suddenly, remembering exactly what Luke had said to him, Alec realized that looking a Neanderthal in the eye and calling him a thief is not the same as ignoring him. Kent's upper lip curled back from his teeth, and he leaned in so close that Alec was pretty sure he smelled Fruit Loops. Still holding Alec's arm, Kent snarled, "Starting right now, I don't want you to think about Nina or talk to Nina or look at Nina, even if she's sitting right across from you at that stupid club table. You got that, loser?" It was the way Kent's lip curled back from his teeth. Alec instantly thought of Spitz from The Call of the Wild. Spitz was a sled dog, half wolf, half husky. And in the story, Spitz battled Buck, the other big dog, and blood spattered the snow. But this wasn't the Klondike in the 1890s. This was the music room on a Tuesday morning. Alec yanked his arm free, and instead of snarling back, he spoke calmly. "You're not the boss of me, and you're not the boss of Nina either." Kent glowered, but at that split second when glares could have turned into punches, Miss Dunbridge clapped her hands and silenced the room. "Places, everyone, places. Sopranos and altos to the left, tenors and baritones spread out on the right. Quickly now, quickly." Alec was in no mood to sing, but he went to his assigned spot on the risers. With him being a tenor and Kent being a baritone, the distance between them was a help. 55 minutes of happy little songs? Almost a help. As the period ended, Alec was feeling pretty good about how he'd shaken off Kent's grip, how he'd stood up to the bullying. However, as he left the music room and headed for math, Alec glanced over his shoulder to check the hallway. Kent was standing there, just outside the music room, staring straight at him. And the look on Kent's face? It was Spitz, the wolf dog. Chapter 25, Scene After Scene. When Alec got to the club table Tuesday afternoon, Lily was already there, and so was the new kid, Jason. Nina was across the gym talking with Kent. But after what she'd said about him on the phone last night, that didn't bother Alec at all. Jason was working hard at reading, eyes glued to his book. The scared look on his face made Alec feel ashamed and very stupid. Because this kid, him showing up like that yesterday, wasn't his fault. He was just a weapon, an anger grenade that Kent had tossed across the gym. And Alec saw how he had totally fallen for the trick. He had grabbed the grenade and blown himself up. "Hey, Jason," he said, trying to use his friendliest voice. The kid looked like he thought Alec might jump up and rip his arms off. "Listen," Alec said, "I was acting like a jerk yesterday. I don't care who sent you or why. I'm glad you're here." Jason smiled cautiously and whispered, "Good. Me too." Alec smiled back. "And you don't have to whisper." The boy seemed uncomfortable, so Alec asked him the question he had wanted to yesterday. "You said you're in 4th grade, so have you read Because of Winn-Dixie?" Jason's face opened up into a broad smile. "Yeah, I loved that book." "And have you gotten into the Big Nate series?" Jason nodded. "Yep, I've read just about all of them. So funny." For the next few minutes, the two of them talked about the books they liked, about the ones they kept reading again and again, and also about the books that they'd finished only because they'd had to. And Alec remembered to ask him if he could borrow his copy of A Long Walk to Water. It turned out they had a lot in common as readers, especially in the action and adventure books department. Jason was crazy about The Call of the Wild, just like he was. Plus, he talked about another book Alec had never heard of, Under the Blood Red Sun, and now he couldn't wait to read it. Jason said, "That book you had yesterday, Hatchet? I've seen it around school a lot, but I haven't read it yet. Is it any good?" "Is it good?" Alex said. "It's one of the best. Really, you have to read it. In fact, here." He pulled the book out of his backpack and slid it down the table. "You should start it now." Jason was startled. "Really? Like right now?" "Really," Alex said, and then he smiled. "It'll be your initiation into the club. And if you don't completely love it, then I'll owe you an ice cream sandwich." Awesome, Jason smiled and opened the book. Lily had been carefully minding her own business, but now she looked across the table at Jason and said, "See, I told you he was nice." And with a happy last look at Alec, Lily went back to reading. Alec glanced across toward the kickball corner again, and Nina was still there, still with Kent, but it wasn't friendly now. They were almost nose to nose, and it looked tense. Then Nina turned her back on Kent and headed straight across the gym toward the Losers Club. Alec quickly looked away and reached for his bag of Cheetos. He didn't want Nina to think he'd been spying on her. She sat down and pressed both her hands flat on the table, staring straight ahead at the wall. Alec could tell she was breathing hard, upset. It took her a few minutes to calm down. Then she shrugged off her backpack, pulled out a juice box, and drained it in about 5 seconds. She looked at Jason, then gave Alec a puzzled look. Alec whispered, "I apologized," and now he's reading Hatchet for the first time. As he said that, he had a quick moment like the one he'd had after Lily had come, feeling proud of the way he'd stepped up and acted like a big brother for Jason, too, even though he had done it one day late. Nina whispered, "I'll keep quiet." She started to read, but Alec could tell she was still angry. He ripped half a sheet of paper from a notebook and wrote, "You want to talk? Maybe walk over to the drinking fountain or something?" He felt scared and almost tore it up, but he wanted to find out what had happened. He folded the paper twice and tossed it down the table so it hit Nina's arm. She jumped a little, looked his way, then opened the note. She nodded at him, and they both got up and headed in the direction of the storage closet. They walked past the other club tables, turned the corner by the closet, and went on toward the drinking fountain. Nina didn't say anything. Asking if she wanted to talk had seemed like a good idea, but now Alec's hands began to sweat. He felt like he had to say something, so he said, "Look, I'm not trying to butt in or anything. And if you don't want—" "No," she said, "this is good. And it's not much, really. On the way into the gym, I stopped to tell Kent that I didn't want to hang out with him every single day, because now it's like he expects me to stop and talk, and he still comes over a lot to play basketball, too. So after I said that, he got mad and said, 'Well, guess what? I'm all done with you anyway, you and your stupid bookworm friends.' And then said he was glad he didn't have to pretend that I was good at sports anymore because I'm not, and he didn't know why he ever thought I was cool in the first place." Alec clenched his jaw and kept his eyes on the floor. She said, "And I know it's totally stupid to let stuff he says bother me, but it does, especially what he said about the sports. So I guess that proves I'm stupid, right?" She said that last bit with a little smile, then added, "And please don't say yes." All any of that proves is how stupid he is. The fierceness in Alec's voice surprised them both. Nina said, "Well, anyway, that's all. And talking was good, so thanks." "Sure, no problem," Alec said. They were only halfway down the long wall toward the water fountain. He pointed and said, "Are you actually thirsty?" "Not really." Back at the table, they sat down again. Alec wanted to pick up book and read, wanted to dive into a world with a beginning, a middle, and out there a few hundred pages in the future, a tidy, satisfying ending. Except now he was the one who felt unsettled and angry, and he felt like he wanted to get back at Kent. And not just for himself, for Nina too, for all the kids who got bullied and bossed around day after day. It was a strong feeling, the kind that demanded action.